What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The Brew with Matt and Mike is back after a great performance for Wisconsin against Michigan, 91-88. So many things to like from the Badgers. So many good individual performances. Mike, how are you doing today? And give me your initial reactions to the Badger game.
Obviously, I'm doing super great, super well, fantastic, fantabulous. Any superlative and vocabulary we can break out today. Life is good here on the island, and even better now that we watched just an absolute fantastic game. Obviously we're happy that the Badgers won, but just some really high quality basketball that was just played right in front of us. Michigan's an excellent team, and Wisconsin was able to show out in a game. Right, we've had big time matchups, and Wisconsin's laid some duds in these games, and it's great to be able to be excited, to be engaged in a game against a big time opponent. And luckily, fortunate for us, bleeding Badger red, and we came out on top. So overall, really happy, excited to see what keeps coming with this team. But man, feeling great today.
There's so many individual performances that were really, really good in this game. But the first one I want to give a shout out to is Nick Bohde, beating his former coach who coached him for 4 years at Florida Atlantic, went to a Final Four with him. And I'm just kind of thinking, why is he not at Michigan right now, in all honesty? But yeah, really, really impressive from Nick Bohde. I've been a little bit hard on Nick Bohde in the past, but I thought today was the perfect use of his speed and athleticism. I really liked how he channeled his aggressiveness today, where he would get all the way to the hoop, and he finished over a 7'4" guy multiple times, and he also got his feet into the lane, kicked it out to open teammates. He was kicking it out to the pop guy. Belowski's hitting 5 threes. But I really like what I saw from Nick Bohde. I believe 22 points, 6 assists. Wonderful, wonderful game. That's what I want to see from him, where he can get his, but he's also setting the table up for his teammates, utilizing his athleticism to make his teammates better. And a funny moment in the game was when Michigan full court pressed him, and he did exactly what I tell my fifth graders not to do. He just turned, went down the left sideline, and went coast to coast and made a tough layup at the hoop. But with his speed, he can do that. He could be a solo press break guy. But at the same time, the Wisconsin breaking the pressure in crunch time, so some deep breaths were taken. A lot of 50-50 jump balls were thrown. It was a little rough, but Mike, I think the first question I'll ask you, and then I'll give you mine, is just give me your MVP for the game today, because there was a lot of great individual performances.
I mean, obviously, if you look at the box score, you're going to look at the two guards that led the way, Blackwell and Bohde, and they did their thing today. They came out and showed out in a way that they needed to, as well as Belowski's just becoming a human Lithuanian torch for about 6 minutes there, which was awesome. But from start to finish, the MVP for me was Braden Carrington, hands down. He came off the bench. He handled his business. Defensively, he was doing his thing. He knocked down free throws at a high level. Obviously the last couple of minutes, he went 3 for 4, basically missing the front end of a 1-on-1 and then knocking down the crucial second one to push it to 3. But, man, he had, 9 rebounds, 12 points, 4 assists, huge plays in transition. If you look at, catching the ball on the out of bounds full court pass, going up and catching the basketball there was just a monster today. His activity, his energy, the style that he did, the floor game that he had. He only made 1 shot. He knocked down 9 free throws today. He's taken 7. I think he's taken 10 all year. And this was what I kind of expected out of him. I know he's a Minnesota guy. He was a former Minnesota Mr. Basketball. He's played in the Big Ten. He's played at high levels before. He's a senior. He's a guy who's been in battles before. And I was hoping I would see more of this earlier from him. And for whatever reason, he wasn't flowing. He wasn't gelling. He wasn't finding his way with this team. And today he showed out in a big way. And I loved the minutes he gave us. For me, it was a lot of the grit plays. It was a lot of stuff we were looking for. He provided so much toughness for them at the wing position, especially when Rohde was having some challenges with foul trouble. And for me, one of the biggest plays of the game was John Blackwell shoots a 3 from the top of the key. Looks like it's about to go in, goes short. Carrington doesn't stop on the play. He gets a rebound and gives the ball to Rohde. Corner pocket 3, first 3 of the game for Rohde. Huge play. That was a game changer, a game buster for them, because Michigan was putting that pressure on, right? And Michigan had gone kind of toe-to-toe when Wisconsin was literally on fire. I don't think they could have shot the ball better in some of those stretches. And they found a little bit of rhythm, and all of a sudden Michigan cranked it up. You could see, I think it was about 6 minutes left. You could really see Michigan trying to turn that pressure up and turn that intensity on. All of a sudden, Braden comes in, fearless, goes and grabs a couple of really nice offensive rebounds, that one in particular. And that was a huge play in a game that was super needed for this team.
So Carrington, what he did showed up in the box score, but he also did the stuff that didn't show up in the box score. He did a little bit of both. He was everywhere. Unbelievable performance from him, and you got to like how the way that he bounced back from some adversity where Gard benched him. I think he didn't play against Central Michigan. Like, I don't know if he, until the second half, like garbage time.
Minutes. Garbage time.
Yeah, like he easily could have pouted. He could have quit the team, but no, he stuck with it, and he just had an unbelievable game on CBS. So I respect that. Feels like there were guys who were MVPs at different points in the game. Blackwell was the only offense early in the game. He kept them within striking distance where it wasn't a blowout. And then you had Carrington making massive plays, kind of closing the distance with Michigan. And then you have Bohde, who I'm going to give the MVP to the game to Bohde today because he was the straw that stirred the drink and got everything going with his ability to get into the paint and make the defense collapse. Like, the amount of help, it was like a box in one almost with how much help was coming towards him. Then he was finding teammates. But he finished 22 points, 6 assists, and I love this, 0 turnovers. He outside of one play, and we talked about this before the show, there's only one play that both of us didn't like was when Winter ran the floor and Bohde took on a guy who was at the rim already where he could have lobbed it up to Winter, and he got pinned by the next help defender in transition. And but ultimately he got a little bit bailed out there because Carrington once again made a massive play where he got pinned on that layup and the ball in transition. Michigan was then in transition and Carrington knocked the ball away or blocked it. I'm not sure how it was recorded, but he made a play and then Bohde kind of cherry picked a layup into that. But outside of that, it was a pretty much flawless game from Nick Bohde. So I'm going to give Bohde the MVP, but you can't go wrong with Carrington. You can't go wrong with Bohde or Blackwell. And even Belowski hitting 5 threes. I mean, he was a flamethrower. And Winter, and this kind of blows my mind here. I'm looking at the box score right now. Winter went 3 of 4 from the field, and all his shots were threes. And Andrew Rohde went 1 of 3 from the field, and all his shots were threes. And Carrington went 1 of 4 from the field, and all his shots were threes as well. But I've been critical of the amount of threes being taken by this team, but it's more the quality of the threes, right? And today I have no problem with the quality because a lot of it came from the pick and pop, and it also came from Bohde breaking down the defense and finding a good shooter going in and out. I don't mind those threes. If they want to take a lot of those threes, that's fine. I will say, like, overall in the season, the percentage still isn't that good. And there was a graphic that came up where it's like, they're shooting a lot of threes. They're just not making them. It showed where they ranked across the country and making them versus the amounts per game. That's kind of what I've been saying on the show. But yeah, really, really high-level basketball. And how do you think Wisconsin is going to build off this, or how can they build off this moving forward?
Well, we saw it. We saw it against UCLA, right? They took a lead early in that game, and then they kind of got punched in the mouth, and they were able to grind that win out. And I think that unlocked something for them, right? They beat a quality opponent, and they figured out how to win together. And now they came in today, and you can just see this team is gelling a little bit more. Coach Gard is figuring out his rotations. We talked really early in the season of how big this team is, right? And how the size that they have and the problems that they create, especially for teams that are smaller. But now we're in the Big Ten. Nobody's small. We got a lot of big guys, and we're seeing that actually a smaller lineup at times. He used it quite a bit. I think he probably played it for maybe at least 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes throughout the whole game of having either Winter or Belowski on the bench. He had one of the two on the bench for maybe about 10 minutes throughout the whole game. And it's great to see that. And they're gelling right now. And the fact that they got a tough win against UCLA, and then they come into this place and they get a even tougher win. And the way they won the game is going to be just huge for them, building on it. And we've been a little bit critical of Bohde and how he's ran the team. Today, man, I just wanted to piggyback on that. He did a great job of finding guys. He did his dribble through, like I've talked about. He did about 3 times where he got all the way around, dribbled all the way out through the baseline, and got out to the top, and you got a quality look out of it. You found him finding Blackwell early. He had a great skip pass.
Yes,
Blackwell's first shot. Oh my gosh, that was such a sexy pass. I loved it. Oh man, it was in the pocket and Blackwell's in rhythm and it got him going, right? So Boyd is also figuring this team out. Sometimes it takes a little bit for guys to figure out how to, manage games, especially with new teams. And so now we're seeing this process, right? That's what good teams do is they get better every week. And especially teams that have some youngsters, especially on the front court. Got a couple guys looked a little bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today. Garlick was a little bit okay. He's overmatched for that environment. That won't be too much for him later in the season. I think as we get into this Big Ten play, he's going to be a big piece. He got a little bit overwhelmed today. Super normal. Freshman going into a top two, an environment like that. Michigan's got some great fans. I think it's the Breslin Center or the Chrysler Center.
Breslin.
It's the Breslin, right?
Or is that Michigan State? Yeah,
Breslin.
Yeah, Breslin.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's a big time atmosphere, and against a big time team. So, I like what they showed today.
That's Michigan State. Breslin's Michigan State.
It's Chrysler, right? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not the Breslin, it's Chrysler. One of these Michigan teams, whatever. One of those teams from over there. But they did great today, and it's great to see them come together, and they all celebrated, right? They all celebrated afterwards. And this is the type of win we talked about before Purdue that could really catalyze a season, right? But Purdue was at home. And I know for them, going on the road and going in an environment like that by a team that has been blitzing people. They have literally blitzed people off the floor. They have the most 40-point wins in Big Ten history, and we just started the season. We're almost halfway through now. So this is a big-time win for them, big quad one win for them. This is a statement that goes on their resume and says, hey, we're for real, and I think they're just going to keep building on it. Obviously shots fell today, which helps, and especially, confidence for Billy Auskis. He came in and he played against a high-level front court and did his thing, held his own. He played great defense against Mara. He was big, he was physical. He looked like a guy who's played at high levels before and against some big-time competition. So it's great to see.
Shots fell today, but it ultimately felt like once the dust settled and Wisconsin came back to earth and they stopped hitting a ridiculous amount of threes all at once, it felt like it was anyone's ball game. It felt like Wisconsin belonged in that game, and that's what I find very, very important moving forward. Like, this can be the absolute catapult that changes Wisconsin's season. And I also just want to talk about some individual plays that I thought were massive in the flow of this game. Early on, it felt like every single call was kind of going, I won't say every single call, but some calls are going Michigan's way. A lot of long rebounds are going Michigan's way. 50-50 balls are ending up with Michigan early on. And it felt like this game was about to get out of hand potentially. Blackwell was keeping it within striking distance, but a huge play that I thought was when Nolan Winter stole the ball when it was 24-33, jumped up and made a really athletic play, great hands, and he got to Janicki, and Janicki punched it down out of nowhere. And that was an absolutely massive game-changing play. And then the one we talked about was a little bit later. It was 33-38 later in the first half. And Boyd took that tough transition shot that got blocked. And then Carrington made that defensive play that led to a Boyd layup. That made it 35-38. That was a massive 4-point swing. And then just Carrington. Carrington had a plethora. The one I just mentioned, drawing the foul on the jump ball at the end of the game was absolutely massive. And then he was just boxing out like a madman and had some man-sized rebounds in crunch time. That was huge. And let's not forget when he saved the ball from going out of bounds. Like, if this was a bigger game, like a Big Ten championship game, like that was even better than Gosser's. Like, Gosser was his foot was on the line. That save that led to a bucket late in the game from Carrington was just unbelievable. Like, Carrington today was like a Josh Gosser on steroids. It's Carrington today. He was just unbelievable. So
he was the glue.
And then and it was 16-11 assist battle. Wisconsin won it, and and then the last thing I want to say is shots were falling, but Wisconsin at the same time was gritty and tough. Like, Wisconsin, I think it might have been a 10, 12, 14-point game in the first half, and they all dove on the floor, and so did Michigan. I'll give Michigan props as well. They were battling. But I love that when Wisconsin, it seemed like this might not be that close of a game, you had 3 or 4 guys diving for a loose ball in that first half, and I was like, I like to see that. I really enjoyed the grit and appreciated that from Wisconsin. So not only do I like shots falling, I appreciate the effort, the intensity, the hustle, the togetherness. it seems like it was very important for Boyd to hit Blackwell for that early jumper. It's just a nice chemistry, nice vibe for them because it feels like there's been just a little disconnect from the two of them. So, yeah, I feel like this could absolutely be the turning point of the season. And Wisconsin, you can't expect them to shoot like this, but Wisconsin might be the team that we were expecting at the beginning of the year. I kind of fallen off the bandwagon, but now I'm back on. You said it before this game. You didn't leave. You didn't leave. You needed to see more after the UCLA game.
Man.
I'm hopping back on, man.
I appreciate it.
We didn't see this.
Come hang out. Come hang out with us. Like we're over here. That's the thing with seasons, and that's the one thing that for me, I know being a player for so long and being on teams is not everything is peaches and cream all the time, and you're going to have ebbs and flows, and you're going to find some differences and some challenging spots, and it's great to see Blackwell. I felt like Blackwell was much more engaged today. He was more vocal. He was more demonstrative. He had a couple of finishes, especially in the first half, where he took a shoulder over somebody. He looked at the ref, and he hasn't really been saying too much to referees, but he had a couple where he was very, very demonstrative in his movements and his actions afterwards. I like the one he had a finish. He bumped the guy, finished it, grabbed it, and put it down and got a delay game. He was like, "What did I do?" I was like, "Well, you can't do that." But number two, I love it. I love that you did that. You showed that that you wanted to be there. You really looked interested in the game, and it was great to see that. And yeah, it's one of those things, man. You just got to stay connected. You got to stay into it. And Coach Gard has done this before. He's had teams that may or may not look super great in the beginning, but he keeps working. He keeps working. He keeps preaching the same stuff. That's one of the things with culture. And people always talk about defining cultures, right? Hey, we have a great culture here. Well, the idea of the culture at Wisconsin is you've got to continue to improve, and you're allowed to continue to improve, and you're expected to improve. That's the other thing. Some places are like, "Oh, we want to improve." No, the expectation is to improve. They're going to push you every day in practice. So shout out to the boys. I hope they go and enjoy this one. And when's their next game? That's the question for me. I'm ready to go see them play again, especially if they play with this type of efficiency.
Yeah, it's going to be at Minnesota on the 13th.
Nice. So we got a couple of days
now.
Yeah, I mean Minnesota just had a big time win too against Iowa, so that'll be a nice clash for them. Hopefully, one thing I do have a small nitpick about the team is I want them to throw the ball to Nolan Winter more. There was some times where they were switching and Winter had a couple of opportunities to seal. Boyd took a three over the top. Teams are switching right now and they're leaving Winter on the block. And I know he's not a great back to the basket player. We haven't seen a lot of him, functioning footwork wise and doing everything like that, but he's still a great lob catcher. And I would love to see them continue to get to that high low with him and try and find those, especially when teams are switching, because the problems that those guards create, right? They're switching out these things. So I would not be surprised if we see, especially against Minnesota, when teams switch, because there was about 5 times I can count where they definitely should have thrown the ball down to Winter, and he would have gotten something good out of it. Even if he doesn't shoot, it's still a paint touch. It's still going to collapse the defense, and he's big enough to see over things. So that's one of my things that I'm really looking forward to seeing them, is if they can figure out that puzzle piece, it'll make them even more efficient. They scored 90 today, and they could have easily scored 100.
Toughness, grit, energy, shot making, loved it all. Beautiful performance from Wisconsin. I think the last thing I will say is Nolan Winter is rolling now from 3, which is huge. He's quite hot. If you look at the last 7 or 8 games since the Villanova game on the 19th, he is shooting the ball well, and that changes everything from Wisconsin. And I really appreciate Nolan Winter's enthusiasm and passion on the court. He goes hard. He cares a lot. I don't know how I missed this, but he got teary-eyed in the Villanova presser, and you can tell he loves playing for Wisconsin. And I really, it's great to see that. And he's so passionate out there that and most players do this, but there will be some obvious balls that are out on Wisconsin. And he's going, no, it's our ball. And he just kind of loses his mind. He's just so passionate, so into it. And you gotta love to see that. So I think that's my last comment. Mike, anything else from you before we wrap this up?
Go Badgers. Freaking
Yes,
Go Badgers. Great day. Thank you guys so much for listening to us and making it to the end of the episode of The Brew. Leave your comments. We love reading them. We appreciate all the support you guys have given us. Follow us, and we'll keep this thing rolling just like the boys did today.
Yes, sir. On Wisconsin.